Hello, Revere, and welcome to our Revere Veteran and Service Community Show for the month of May. But before we start, I would like to say to all the mothers out there, Happy Mother's Day. To all the mothers who have service members, thank you. And especially the Gold Star mothers, thank you twice as much. And I would like to introduce my co-host, the Revere Veteran Service Director, Marc Silvestri, and you have a lot to talk about, so let's start it off with you first, Marc.
Okay, Morris, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I'd like to also wish my mother and all the mothers that are close to me in my life a happy Mother's Day as well.
Right.
Without them, there would be nothing, correct?
You betcha. Now, you would like to talk about Romney Marsh?
I would. We actually, May's a very exciting month in Veteran Services world, Morris, and for all veterans with Memorial Day and all the events that we have planned here in the city. So it's starting to get ramp up. It's starting to get exciting. So this Saturday, May 12th, starting at 8 a.m., we're doing the Romney Marsh Burial Ground cleanup. And we ask for volunteers to come down, residents of Revere. It helps us get the Romney Marsh Burial Ground, a treasure of Revere, prepared, cleaned up, raked, leaves picked, and then we go back on the 17th. The Veteran Service Office goes down there with the Junior ROTC. Major Bowker takes and her staff take the cadets down to Romney Marsh Burial Ground. With the Veteran Service Office, we put the flags out on all the veterans that are in that burial ground. We have a little lunch after, and I congratulate them on their great year because they deserve to be honored as well. Our Junior ROTC program in the city is one of the tops in the state, I believe.
I agree with you, and I've had the ROTC come over to the Senior Center, sitting in and talking about war experience of the war that I was in, not physical war because I got in after the war was over. I was only 17 at the time, but talking about history. But you would like to talk about the Boston Wounded Run.
I would. It's another exciting event we have coming up here in the city. It's on Sunday, May 20th, and this is the 8th annual Boston Wounded Vet Run, Morris.
Right.
It was started by a local gentleman, Andy Biggio. He's actually from Winthrop, but he has a lot of ties to Revere. He loves our community. He loves that we've hosted the Vet Run for him for over the last 8 years. And the lives he's touched with the Vet Run is pretty special. This year, the honorees will consist of Corporal Greg Galazzi, Sergeant Brendan Corona, Sergeant Peter Rooney, and Corporal Brian Johnston. These honorees will experience a life-changing day on that day there, Morris, and it's amazing to see. And I've got to experience it for many years now. Last year as the VSO, so that was an exciting experience. It's pretty amazing day to see how the veterans and the honorees are touched on that day, how many veterans come out to support them on that day, and actually that 100% of everything that Boston Wounded Vet Run brings in goes directly back to the veterans.
That's great.
And I'd like to add one more thing to that. I'm asking the city of Revere residents to come out and help us that day. I'd like you to dress in the most patriotic way you can. Flags will be passed out. We will meet at 12 o'clock at Walgreens parking lot. You know, Morris, driving the event every year, the other cities actually have it where it goes through their neighborhoods.
Right.
So they come out, they sit in their lawns, they barbecue, they're waving flags, they're having a grand old time. And in the beginning of the Wounded Vet Run, is such an amazing experience. Hearing thousands of bikes all turn on at once, watching them ride through, getting a salute under that major flag that the fire department holds in honor. It's a special thing, and to have residents and veterans come out and support the beginning of that, I think that'd be something special for Revere to do, and I'm asking our residents to step up and help me out in that cause.
That's great, but I would like to say something for Andy Bijou. A year ago, when we had Paul Monty at our thing, I was there. It was a cold day. I had just gotten out of the VA hospital. I had no clothes. I mean, I had clothes on, but nothing to cover myself with a jacket. Andy Bijou went in and he got me a Wounded Warrior jacket, and he came out with it and he said, Morris, this is yours. Don't freeze to death. Put it on and take care of it. And I want to say, Andy, thank you.
Yeah, Andy's a class act. That same Memorial Day, Andy drove, you know, the cross rifles,
Right.
and down to Washington, D.C. to have it in the Auroran rally, and he drove it back overnight to have it back in Revere so it could be used in our Memorial Day service. And on that day, he also donated, made a donation to the Revere Veteran Service Office.
That's great.
Yes. I guess that leads us right up into
The flag ceremony.
the flag ceremony. You're
Right.
right, exactly. On May 26th, we get the Patriot Flag Platoon. It's our second annual ceremony. We'll be meeting at the Holy Cross Cemetery. The main gate, 9:30 a.m. We start our ceremony. We open it with the national anthem. We pass out the tools, the maps, the grave markings, and again, that's another thing we ask the residents to come out and donate time and help us decorate the graves of our fallen heroes.
Right. Talking about flags, if people have flags that are desecrated or they want to burn, where would they drop them off at, if I may ask you?
That's a great point, Morris. We got two locations. One is at the corner of Broadway in front of the Legion Post, and the other is at Doughboy Police Supply. Both boxes are clearly labeled. I just ask that when you do drop off a flag, that if they are connected to any type of stick or have any wood on them all, that you break it off, keep that piece. The sticks end up jamming the boxes, and it's difficult to get the flags out. But again, they can be picked up at the corner of Legion Hall and Broadway and Doughboy Police Supply on Squire Road.
So they can drop them off in any one of those two places?
One of those two locations. I service those locations. I pick them up, and then in the middle of the summer, at one point, we have a flag burning ceremony.
Which is at the Beachmont VFW most of the time?
Most of the time. Last year, we actually had it at the old Legion that was off of Revere Street.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was the last year they were closing that.
Mottola Post, you meant?
Mottola Post. They were closing that location. So we had it there for the last time and give that a going away ceremony as well.
That's great. And where are you going to have it this year, if I may ask?
This year, I'm hoping we go back to the
Beachmont?
Beachmont VFW, yes.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, now before we start, of course, we're on Memorial Day.
And our 2018 Memorial Day keynote speaker is going to be historian Jeff Perlman. And I thought going outside the box this year a little bit, Morris, you know, I was, you know, racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, what colonel I could find, or what general I could find, or officer, or soldier to come speak to the people. And then I started putting together. This year's actually the 100th year anniversary of the end of World War I.
That's right, 1918, 2018,
Yeah.
November 11th.
Exactly. So I figured that Mr. Perlman could give us our own little historical spin on Memorial Day and through Revere's eyes, what Revere did to impact the World War I. And I think it's going to be a little bit special. I have a few extra special things that are going to be involved in the ceremony. I like to change it up and spice it up to make a little special every year for the veterans. It will again be on Memorial Day, May 28th. We'll start at 11 o'clock. There will be tents, so rain or shine, we're outside. I think that's a big part of Memorial Day,
Right.
keeping it outdoors. So I'm excited for that, Morris.
I would like to speak about Jeff Perman if I could spend just a minute.
Absolutely.
I've had him on my TV show. He's a great, like you say, he's a professor at Bunker Hill, but he knows the history of the Civil War better than General Lee or General Grant themselves would have known it. That's how good he was to come on. And I hope someday to have him back on again for the Civil War.
Right. Jeff Perlman was actually a longtime teacher of Revere, very well known history buff. He was a professor for my wife at Bunker Hill Community College. And she used to tell me how he would go into character sometimes and how he would just keep the class really, you know, at the edge of their seat sometimes during history class. And as you know, if you're not a history buff, history can be a little boring. So I'm hoping he brings that special treat to Revere, gives us a little bit of that spin, and we get a special Memorial Day, which I'm pretty sure that's what his plan is.
That's great. Thank you.
Veterans housing in Revere right now, we're doing a tremendous job here in the city. I really have to give it to the Revere Housing Authority. They've really bought into putting veterans first and supporting our veteran community. And from January 2017 to the current date, 28 veterans have been housed in Revere Housing. Another 10 have been placed through realtors or property managers or something like that, that I've connected them through to the office. So there's 40 veterans that possibly could be living on the street, that because our mayor, the housing authority, our substance abuse office, our veterans office are collaborating. We're putting our heads together, we're putting our thoughts together, and we're coming up with new and fresh ideas to house veterans. And one of them fresh ideas was reaching out to HUD Vash. And we did that with the mayor's approval and the support in Jim, the chair of Revere Housing, and then the director over there, Robin. They did an excellent job. We all put in our input, and we all wrote letters of support. And our SUDI office, which is our substance abuse office, wrote that they would help. And we were approved as of April 1st. We were given 5 HUD Vash vouchers and the total of almost $57,000. And that's another ability of taking veterans off the street and housing veterans.
Right. Now I have a question about you. When you say veterans, is that just a veteran? Or if a veteran has a family, does he can...
Oh, absolutely. If you're a veteran with a family and you qualify for HUD Vash, and you get a voucher, that veteran's voucher could get you a house for your family as well.
And if they want to contact you, Mark, if a new veteran comes into the city and he's not familiar and he would like to contact you, can you help him out with an email and telephone number?
Absolutely. Marc Silvestri, and my email is msilvestri, SILVESTRI, @revere.org. Our telephone number is 781-286-8119. And that's just not for new veterans. That's for any veteran, Morris. And you don't need to be in need to reach out to the Veterans Office. You could be wanting to volunteer. You could have something to donate. You could or just want to talk and check up on things. And maybe something that you had no idea you qualified for, you are actually have the ability of gaining. And just reaching out to the Veterans Office is it benefits me as a veteran service officer knowing who's out there in our city, and it benefits the veteran knowing what's out there for them as well.
I'd like to add 2 cents to that, if I may. You have a great secretary, Donna Dreesen.
Amazing.
Great lady, does a lot of work for the veterans. You yourself do likewise. What would you like to see them donate to the veteran service so you can contribute it to the veterans?
Absolutely. Well, we do our OTS program that we run supplies. We actually just had a shipment that Tim Sullivan and Bill Reedy took up to Operation Tube Support to Dick Moody.
Yep.
And it consists of magazines, toothpaste, toothbrush, dental floss, mouthwash, non-perishables. Anything that you want to bring in, we package it up. Once we get enough of it in the office, we send it up to Mr. Moody at the Operation Troop Support, and everything gets sent overseas to our troops overseas.
Right. What would you like them to donate beside non-perishables?
Non-perishables, toiletries, stuff like that. Socks are always great to get.
Sweaters?
If they would like. I prefer. Now I know where you're going with that one, Mark.
Yeah,
Good one. That's a good one.
Go ahead, Bob.
So, but also another exciting thing that's happened in the Revere Veterans Office is I went in front of the council and they were more than happy to approve a revolving account. So now our own Veterans Office can accept donations in lieu, and it goes directly back to our Revere veterans. It's helped gentlemen get equipment that they needed for work. Veterans that without it wouldn't have been able to go to their job. It's housed a husband and wife who were displaced during the weather. We put them in a hotel for 3 days. So that fund, it's a revolving account. I put a limit on it of $12,000, so it can't go over $12,000. But now the City of Revere does have the ability to donate back to Revere Veteran Service Office itself, and that money goes directly to the Revere vets.
Right. Now, before we went on the air, we had a discussion, and you mentioned a lot of the great things that the Revere Veteran Service did for people. Without mentioning the people's name, tell us some of the things that the Revere Veteran Service did with the money they got.
Yep. Okay. So, again, we had a gentleman, I don't want to put his profession or anything out there like that, but he needed equipment. And it was about $2,000 worth of equipment, and without it, he wasn't going to get this job. And I thought that $2,000 investment was well worth to see this gentleman get this job, and it's a career. It's not just one job. It just wasn't one day. It's a career this gentleman will have now for the remainder of his life. It's just a dream he's had since he was a child, and we got to help that dream come true. And that's amazing. Again, we put the husband and wife that were displaced during the storm up in a hotel for 3 days with food, clothing for veterans that are in need. It helps us with our wheelchair program. There's avenues of it that we really, it's been a blessing. And again, I'd like to thank our city council for really approving that and giving us that ability to go above and beyond what we were able to do in the past.
Speaking for the City of Revere, where you have money coming in for the Revere Veteran Service, I would like to see most of the people that have businesses successful and who are veterans themselves to help you out, Mark. And if they would like to send a check of any kind, any amount, give them the address where they can mail it to.
Well, if they'd like to make a donation, they could send it to 249R. That's 249, the letter R, Broadway, Revere, Mass. 02151. That's the Revere Veteran Service Office. Or they can come drop it in person. I prefer them to come drop it in person, Mars, because I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to see them and look them in the eye and know that we really appreciate that donation. So if they have the ability to come to the office, I'd prefer to get it that way. But you actually lead me into something else there, and that is okay, so I'm starting a program in the city when a few of the tax breaks were brought up in the last few council meetings back. I sat down with the mayor and his administration, and we discussed ways of helping veterans and whatnot. And I'm proud to say that bill that Councilor Morabito put up, the mayor signed off and approved on. So that will be another tax incentive for veterans in the city. The parameters of that tax break still need to be worked out, and the details need to be put in black and white. But that will be another way for veterans in the city to get a little relief. But on top of that, while we were discussing this, he said, you know, what are some of the other ideas that we can do? Is there ways we can go to our chamber or the local businesses, like you just said? And I came up, you know, talking to other veteran service officers. We came up with an idea of doing city-wide, and I've already started, and I've gotten 10 so far to buy in, local businesses that are willing to give a discount to Revere veterans. So basically, they can tailor the discount any way they want. If they're a restaurant, they give a free appetizer with a meal for two. If they're a coffee shop, they could give a free muffin with a cup of coffee. If they're a bakery, they could give 10% off an order over $50. So they do all that. Then they get put into a book I'm going to develop. They'll also get a sticker to place on the window of their business that shows they support Revere veterans. And then on top of that, once we get to 30 businesses, I'm then going to start an ID program for the veterans of Revere.
That's what I was going to ask you
Yes.
about. So, in other words, you're going to give me an ID card to show that I'm a Revere veteran.
So you will come in, you'll
Right.
have an ID card, you'll show you're a Revere veteran, and then any veteran, any business that is joined into this will then give you the discount of their choosing.
Right now, like I go to the VA, here's my disc card. You could take a look at it. That's my
Right.
ID. Then when I go there, for them to check it. You will also have one for me to show that I'm a Revere veteran.
Exactly.
Okay.
This would not get you to use this discount because we want them to have the veterans ID. It's not going to cost it's going to cost zero. It gets them to come into the office and speak to me. It gets them discounts, the vets discounts around town, and it gets them to shop local.
Right. The only thing I wish when you give me mine, don't put my age on it, because then they'll put me on a diet. You know what I mean?
Well, then you get the extra senior discount on top of it if we do. So you get 2 for 1 there, Morris.
Okay. Talking about donations. Nick Jacoby, I'm sure you know Nick Jacoby.
Very
He's
well.
the vice president of the Revere Allied Veterans Council. I'm the president of that.
Yes.
We collected money from all the posts in the city of Revere and the businesses. They were so good to give it to us.
Oh,
so
wow.
we would like to make a check from the Revere Allied Veterans Council. That's just Nick Jacoby and myself, to the Revere Veterans Service.
Oh, wow.
We'd like to present you with this check.
Oh,
and I
wow.
hope the other businesses out there see this and they do likewise.
$100
Right.
from the Allied Veterans Commission.
Right.
And
you
Morris, thank you so much.
No problem, but you promise to send me a card from Hawaii when you get there. Okay. By the way, we have about 3.5 minutes left. Take a couple of minutes and discuss what you would like to see in the future from the city and for the veterans.
Morris, you know, I couldn't ask for things to be going better right now. Personally and professionally, and for veterans, things are just happening great. I'm going to be a graduate on the 19th of May from Salem State. I'll be graduating with my bachelor's degree.
Oh,
it's been a long time
congratulations.
in the making. Thank you. But as veterans go, and the city goes, just stay on course. I don't know, the mayor gave a speech a couple of weeks back, and the main theme of the speech was, "We're not done," and that carries throughout the city. The Veterans Office, we are not done. The changes we have made so far, we're not done. We're going to continue to make that Veterans Office.
This is just the beginning.
This is it. And we're going to make one of, hopefully, one day Revere's looked at as one of the top Veterans Offices in the state.
I would say one of the top in the country. We can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, before you said you're graduating from,
Salem State.
what did you major in?
It was American Studies.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Good. And what would you like to see in the future for the city, for veterans in the city of Revere?
To continue to continue on the path, housing, to continue the veterans initiative and the housing.
Right.
The veterans to continue to participate, and for more veterans to get involved. I'd love for you guys that are out there that have not been into the veterans office, that have not enjoyed one of our coffee hours, have not come out to one of our events. Come out, see what it's all about. If it's not for you, you gave it a shot.
Right.
But I have a feeling that we have something in our veterans program in the city for every veteran, whether you're a senior or just out of the military and 22 years old.
Right. I like to say before we close, we only got about a minute left, that the veterans that are coming out of the service, if the businesses out there are looking to hire someone where the economy is getting a little better, let them notify you that they're looking for someone, and you can have them hire a vet. It's a great vet.
We already have the vets program, vets
Right.
work program in the city. We've already had 5 businesses put to work 8 veterans in the city. And on top of it, a lot of businesses don't know this. If you do hire a veteran and you put them to work, you get a tax break.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Mark, I want to say it was an honor and a pleasure to
Always
have you come
is.
up here and give us information for the veterans.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay, and
God
I want
bless.
to. God
Have a
bless.
great day.
Right. God bless you. God bless all our veterans and the people of Revere, but most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America, and to all the servicemen overseas and here. God bless you, and take care of yourselves. Until the next time, I hope we have another great show like this, and thank you for listening.